In the year 12 AD, in the heart of Rome, a child was born. No one could have imagined that he would grow up to become one of the cruelest rulers in history. His name was Caligula. From 37 to 40, ruled the Roman Empire for 4 years. Raised by parents who could hardly be called stable and surrounded by the brutality of Roman politics from an early age, he had all the ingredients needed to become a monster. His first strange behaviors reportedly stemmed from an obsession with his own baldness. He refused to let anyone look down on him and allegedly ordered people around him to shave their heads. But compared to what came later, these acts were insignificant. Eventually, Caligula declared himself a god and demanded that people offer sacrifices to him. According to ancient accounts, his depravity knew no limits. Stories spread that he had an incestuous relationship with his sister Drusilla and treated her as a divine figure. Whether all of these claims are true remains debated by historians, but they contributed greatly to his terrifying reputation. When Drusilla died, Caligula plunged Rome into mourning. Citizens were reportedly forbidden from laughing, bathing, eating together as families, or even speaking freely in public. Despite his behavior, Caligula possessed some rather impressive titles: Father of the Nation and the Armies, the greatest and best ruler, and the pious man. The irony was that many of these titles were awarded by none other than Caligula himself. Decimi, Roman emperors, were among the most powerful and untouchable individuals on earth. Such absolute power gave unstable rulers like Caligula the freedom to act without restraint. If Caligula looked directly at you, it could be a death sentence. Ancient writers describe elaborate torture devices built at his command. They claimed he took pleasure in watching executions and suffering, sometimes even while dining. As his extravagant spending emptied the imperial treasury, he found simple solutions. Wealthy citizens were accused, executed, and stripped of their property. When that was not enough, he allegedly forced the wives and daughters of prominent senators into prostitution and publicly mocked the Roman elite. Addressing the people, he reportedly declared, "People of Rome, your God has brought you gifts. I give you the families of the senators. For a small price, do with them as you wish." Caligula deeply distrusted the Senate. His most famous act of mockery involved his horse, Incitatus. He supposedly planned to appoint the horse as a consul and even prepared luxurious accommodations for it. Ancient historians also claimed that he spent extraordinary amounts of time with the animal. His hatred for senators was legendary. Some were forced to run alongside his horse for hours. Others were dressed in women's clothing and humiliated for his amusement. Overeaters, in particular, became frequent targets of ridicule. Sometimes, after ordering senators executed, Caligula would continue inviting them to meetings as if they were still alive. When they naturally failed to appear, he would spread rumors that they had committed suicide. Caligula also enjoyed gladiatorial spectacles. Yet instead of watching trained fighters, he often preferred seeing the weak, elderly, sick, or disabled thrown into the arena. According to some accounts, he even organized battles between groups of dwarfs purely for entertainment. Exotic animal fights were extremely popular in Rome. Lions, elephants, and other beasts were displayed as symbols of imperial power. Caligula allegedly took this one step further by throwing unfortunate spectators into the arena to face the animals. When informed that feeding animals with livestock was expensive, he reportedly ordered prisoners to be used instead. And then there was his greatest fear, being forgotten. Previous emperors were remembered for major events. Augustus had the disaster of the Teutoburg forest. Tiberius was remembered for the collapse of the amphitheater at Fidna. Caligula had no such catastrophe attached to his reign. According to ancient writers, he actually wished for a great disaster, whether a military defeat, a plague, a devastating fire, or a massive earthquake simply so his reign would be remembered forever. He frequently dressed as various gods and goddesses, wandering through Rome in elaborate costumes. One famous story claims that because he considered Neptune, god of the sea, his enemy, he marched soldiers to the coastline and ordered them to collect seashells as trophies of victory. On another occasion, Caligula wished to execute a general named Precos. Unable to find any evidence of wrongdoing, he supposedly declared, "You are an honest man, Precos. Therefore, you cannot be a true Roman. I arrest you for treason." Whether true or not, the story perfectly captures the image that history has left us of Caligula. One night, he suddenly summoned 3 former consuls to his palace. Terrified that they were about to be executed, they rushed there only to discover that Caligula simply wanted them to dance with him. He was not remembered as a man who possessed hidden kindness. He became a symbol of cruelty, excess, and madness. The Roman people increasingly despised him. Riots erupted. He was attacked with stones on multiple occasions. Rome itself seemed trapped between the emperor's tyranny and the people's growing anger. Even his jokes were horrifying. Ancient stories claim that he would humiliate guests during banquets and laugh hysterically at their disgust and fear. Before becoming emperor, Caligula had been adopted by Emperor Tiberius, who lacked a direct heir. Even as a child, he reportedly showed disturbing tendencies. He enjoyed watching executions and wandered the streets at night wearing strange costumes, singing, dancing, and organizing bizarre entertainments. Tiberius is said to have remarked that Caligula was a viper for the Roman people and a python for the world. Caligula's full name was Gaius Julius Caesar Augustus Germanicus. However, as a child he spent time among Roman soldiers wearing miniature military boots. The soldiers nicknamed him Caligula, meaning little boots, and the name remained with him forever. Eventually, his behavior became intolerable. The final straw came when he publicly elevated his horse above respected Roman officials. In January of 41 AD, a group of guards ambushed Caligula as he passed through a corridor after attending athletic games. He was stabbed more than 30 times. His wife and daughter were also killed. After his death, the Senate attempted to erase his memory from Roman history. Statues were destroyed, monuments were altered, and efforts were made to restore Republican traditions. Thousands of books have since been written about him. Countless villains in literature, film, and popular culture draw inspiration from the terrifying image of Caligula. Historians continue to debate how much of the legend is true. Some believe he suffered from epilepsy, mental illness, or neurological disorders. Others argue that many of the most shocking stories were exaggerated by hostile writers after his death. Whatever the truth may be, one thing is certain. Nearly 2,000 years later, the name Caligula remains synonymous with absolute power, madness, and terror. And the stories you've just heard may represent only a fraction of everything ever written about him.
If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe and follow for more. Thanks for watching.